They said she was not a leadership fit, that she needed to smile more, wait her turn, and learn to follow before she leads. 5 years, 6 different white colleagues promoted over her, and every time the position opened they told her the same thing: next time, Cassandra. But next time never came. What they didn't know was, Cassandra Grant had stopped waiting. She was done begging to be seen. Because when the system refused to elevate her, she decided to build something they could never control. And what happened next? Well, they didn't just regret underestimating her, they paid dearly for it. Cassandra Grant had been raised to believe in hard work. Her father, a Vietnam veteran, once told her, "Baby girl, you gotta be twice as good to get half as far, but never let that stop you from going all the way." So when she got hired at Amtech Solutions, one of the country's fastest-growing financial software companies, she thought her time had come. She started in client success, worked overtime, handled angry customers, and cleaned up messes left by sloppy sales reps. When the team needed someone to onboard new hires, Cassandra did it. When the company expanded into new markets and needed someone to lead demos at odd hours across time zones, Cassandra stepped up. Her reviews were glowing. Her metrics were top tier. Everyone, clients, coworkers, even junior managers, respected her. Everyone, except the people upstairs. Her first application for a promotion came 2 years in. Cassandra applied for a team lead position. She had already trained half the department unofficially. The interview went well, but when the decision came down, it went to Jake, an employee who had been there 9 months, often missed deadlines, and once forgot to loop her in on a major project she initiated. HR told her Jake showed leadership potential, and that she should shadow him to build toward her own growth. Cassandra smiled politely, then went home and cried. Her mother, Miss Thelma, poured her some tea and said, "They don't see your light, baby. But don't dim it to make them comfortable." Cassandra nodded, and returned to work more determined. She kept applying. At year 3 she interviewed again, this time for operations lead. She had certifications, client wins, a glowing internal reputation. The position went to Karen, who had once asked Cassandra to help her sound more assertive when talking to black clients. Cassandra didn't cry this time. She took a walk, wrote in her journal, and wrote 3 words that changed everything: "They won't stop me." Meanwhile, something else was happening. Cassandra had begun taking night classes. Business law, corporate finance, negotiation strategy. She was quietly building skills, learning how the machine worked, from contracts to equity to internal audits. By the time she hit her 4th year at Amtech, Cassandra wasn't just qualified, she was overqualified. Yet still she was passed over. Again. This time for a diversity initiative manager. The irony? They wanted diverse optics, but not diverse leadership. Cassandra had proposed the very program they launched, and they didn't even credit her. The new hire? A white woman who posted BLM every June and mispronounced Cassandra's name in meetings. Cassandra said nothing, but she started making moves. One day during a quarterly company town hall, Amtech CEO, Bryce Delaney, a smooth-talking tech bro type in his 40s, announced plans to expand into minority-owned business partnerships. Cassandra listened closely. It was all optics, all PR. The numbers didn't lie. Their executive board was 92% white. Cassandra pulled reports, analyzed pay gaps, and found disparities in every department. She didn't share them, not yet. Instead, she started documenting everything. Microaggressions, denied promotions, managers taking credit for her work. She backed it with emails, timestamps, and Slack messages. And then, she reached out to an old college friend, Marcus White, a civil rights attorney who now specialized in workplace discrimination and class action lawsuits. Marcus listened, reviewed her documentation, and said, "Cassandra, this isn't just unfair. It's illegal." But Cassandra wasn't ready to sue. Not yet. She had something else in mind. That's when she launched Grant Strategies, LLC, a minority-owned business consultancy. Quietly, discreetly, at night and on weekends. She focused on helping small black-owned businesses scale through automation and smarter back-end systems, using the very software Amtech had built. Within 10 months, she had 17 clients, all profitable, and her firm had crossed $220,000 in revenue, all while still working full-time at Amtech. But Cassandra wasn't done. She knew Amtech's real weakness, vendor compliance. So she studied the requirements. learn the loopholes, and position Grant strategies to qualify as a preferred supplier. Then came the twist. Amtech was launching a new diversity partner platform, but they needed a last-minute supplier to fulfill one of their grant-backed government contracts. Cassandra submitted Grant strategies under her cousin's name, using a DBA, doing business as listing. The contract? Proved. Cassandra was now technically a vendor, for the same company that refused to promote her for 5 years. The payment? $60,000. Amtech leadership celebrated the new black-owned vendor they partnered with. Cassandra smiled quietly as they shared it on LinkedIn. Then came the biggest opportunity yet. Amtech announced it would be acquiring a regional automation startup, and needed internal teams to manage vendor integration. Cassandra raised her hand. This time she didn't ask. She told, "I've handled integration with our systems for 5 years. I'm the only one here who's worked both sides of the stack." They reluctantly gave her the role. And she crushed it. The vendors respected her. The startup founder, a young Latino entrepreneur named Javier Cortez, told Cassandra privately, "I can tell you're the only one here who understands what it's like to be underestimated." They kept in touch. A month later, at an executive retreat Cassandra wasn't invited to, Bryce Delaney made a speech about investing in equity. An intern secretly recorded him bragging, "We promote who we want. I'm not putting someone with a chip on their shoulder in a leadership role. Especially not the ones that make us look bad by outperforming their managers." The video leaked and went viral. Cassandra wasn't surprised. She already had her plan in motion. She sent the video to Marcus, then to a journalist. Then she filed a complaint with the EOC. But she didn't stop there. Cassandra called Javier. Told him she was launching a new platform, an inclusive supplier pipeline system for tech companies that wanted to actually diversify their partnerships, not just pretend. Javier. He offered funding. And a client list. And 3 weeks later, Grant Strategies Incorporated was born, with a $1.2 million valuation and 3 contracts signed before launch. But back at Amtech, chaos had begun. Bryce was under internal investigation. Cassandra's name was now being whispered in every department. Some admired her. Some feared her. HR called her in just to talk. She walked in wearing her own company's branded blazer. Bryce wasn't there, but his VP Marcia Lang was. "Cassandra," she said, "we think now may be the right time to discuss your future here." Cassandra smiled. "Funny. I've been thinking the same thing." And just as Marcia opened her mouth to speak, Cassandra slid a folder across the table. Inside, a letter of resignation, a formal discrimination report, and a copy of the EOC filing. But that wasn't all. She reached into her bag and pulled out an offer letter addressed to Amtech's largest vendor, signed by her. Because Cassandra had just acquired controlling interest in the company that managed Amtech's entire back-end logistics infrastructure. Marcia's face drained of color, and Cassandra leaned forward and said, "It took 5 years for you to deny me. It took me 1 year to own you. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories that uplift Black voices and expose hidden truths." The silence in that HR office was deafening. Marcia Lang, once smug and unbothered, now sat with her mouth slightly open, blinking at the stack of papers Cassandra had just laid in front of her. The resignation letter? Signed and dated. The formal EOC complaint? Documented and timed to coincide with a major federal audit of diversity practices across Fortune 500 companies. But it was the third document, the signed acquisition contract of Keystone Partners, Amtech's largest vendor, that sent a visible shiver down Marcia's spine. Cassandra sat calmly across the table, her tone cool but deliberate. "I'm not asking for a promotion anymore. I'm informing you of a transition. Going forward, Keystone's contract renewals and vendor compliance decisions come through me. You may want to update your workflows." Marcia attempted a weak smile. "This is a lot to digest. I didn't know you were involved in Keystone's ownership." Cassandra interrupted. "I'm sure you didn't. You never looked beyond my name badge. But while you were passing me over for promotions, I was negotiating board seats. While you were asking me to take notes in meetings, I was buying voting shares." There was a long pause. Then Cassandra stood. "Oh, and Marcia," she added, reaching for her blazer, "you may want to check Bryce's inbox. The EOC will be contacting your legal team by the end of the day. Might be a good time to start cleaning house. She walked out of that HR office not with bitterness, but with clarity. She was done playing their game. Now they had to play hers. News spread fast. Within 24 hours, internal leaks and speculation ran wild at Amtech. Cassandra's resignation hit LinkedIn like wildfire, complete with a now viral quote. "They wouldn't give me a seat at the table. So I bought the table." Thousands of Black professionals, women in STEM and advocates reposted it, calling her a tech disruptor, corporate justice in motion, and a reminder that excellence can't be silenced. But Cassandra wasn't in it for clout. She was building something deeper. Something generational. Grant Strategies Incorporated was now an operational powerhouse. With Javier Cortez as co-investor and CTO, the company launched a SaaS platform called Equiloop, an inclusive supply chain intelligence system that rated corporations based on real diversity metrics, not performative PR. Their first clients? 3 fintech firms that had all dropped Amtech after the Bryce Delaney scandal broke. Meanwhile, Amtech was bleeding. Vendors were pulling out. Employee morale was crashing. 2 board members resigned. And Bryce? He was placed on administrative leave. But the real blow came from the federal grant program Amtech had staked its expansion on. Turns out, Cassandra had already begun whispering in the right ears, specifically at the Department of Commerce, where she presented data-backed reports exposing Amtech's fake diversity metrics. The grant was revoked. Publicly. And Amtech's stock price dipped 13% in 1 week. Still, Cassandra stayed focused. She wasn't finished. While overseeing onboarding for her new clients, Cassandra was approached by someone unexpected. Travis Reynolds, the new interim CEO brought in to clean up Amtech's mess. Travis had done his research. He knew Cassandra's value. And unlike Bryce, he wasn't threatened by brilliance, he saw it as essential. "We'd like to partner," he said, sitting across from her in a high-rise cafe overlooking the city. "Keystone Grant Strategies, Equiloop, you've built something that exposes holes in our entire ecosystem. I'd like to explore an acquisition." Cassandra sipped her tea slowly. "I'm not for sale," she replied. Travis nodded. "Then maybe we can invest?" Cassandra smiled. "You mean now that you need me?" Travis leaned forward. "No. I mean because we respect what you've done. I'm here to make things right. I won't ask you to come back. But I am asking, help us fix what you know is broken." Cassandra didn't say yes. Not yet. Because behind her calm exterior she had received something else. An encrypted email from a whistleblower deep inside Amtech's executive IT systems. It contained an internal chat log. And what she read made her blood run cold. Bryce hadn't gone quietly. He'd anticipated being pushed out. So before leaving he had downloaded internal data, contracts, emails, vendor info, and backed it up to an external server. Worse. He had begun shopping that data to Amtech's competitors, offering insider knowledge in exchange for cash and revenge. Cassandra realized this wasn't just personal now, it was criminal. If this data leak happened, it wouldn't just hurt Amtech. It could ruin her too. Keystone's infrastructure. Her own clients. Even Grant Strategies' legal credibility. She called Marcus her attorney. "This is corporate sabotage," he said. "If Bryce releases that data, it won't just be unethical, it's a felony." "What can we do?" she asked. Marcus paused. "Depends on how far you're willing to go to stop him." Cassandra leaned back, eyes focused on the skyline. "I'll go all the way." The next day she called Travis Reynolds and said, "I'll work with you, but under one condition." "What's that?" he asked. "I want access to your full internal audit logs. And I want Bryce's exit data trail." "Why?" he asked cautiously. "Because if we don't stop him now, we all go down." But just as Cassandra prepared to meet with Travis at Amtech's headquarters, her car alarm blared. She ran outside. The driver's side window was shattered. Inside, a manila envelope sat on the seat. She opened it. Inside, printed screenshots of her emails, and a note that read, "Stay quiet, or we expose you next." Her hands trembled. She looked around. No one in sight. Cassandra realized something terrifying. This wasn't just sabotage anymore. It was war. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories that uplift Black voices and expose hidden truths. Cassandra stood frozen by her car, eyes locked on the manila envelope lying across her seat like a trap. The windshield glass crunched under her shoes as she leaned in, every instinct on high alert. The screenshots inside were real. They were from her private company email, communications between her and Javier, her CTO, outlines of upcoming contracts, internal strategy documents. It was all time-stamped, all confidential, and someone had clearly gone through great lengths to get them. Her breath quickened. She scanned the street, nothing but distant traffic and the occasional pedestrian. Whoever left that envelope wanted her to know two things. They had access, and they weren't bluffing. She clutched the envelope and got back inside the house. Locking the door, she called Marcus immediately. They broke into my car and left this. Someone's watching me. Marcus's tone went dark. That's not just intimidation. That's criminal trespass. You need to file a police report, and we need to escalate this to federal authorities. Bryce is playing dirty. Cassandra hesitated. What if this gets out to our clients? If they see we're being targeted like this, it might shake their confidence. I just closed 2 major deals. I can't afford public panic right now. I understand, Marcus said. But the longer we wait, the bolder they get. We're not just dealing with corporate espionage anymore. This is coordinated. Someone is bankrolling this. That night, Cassandra didn't sleep. She reviewed every internal process, called an emergency meeting with Javier and her security lead, and implemented a full system audit. Within 48 hours they traced the breach. It wasn't from Grant Strategy Systems. It was from Amtech's internal server, still synced with Keystone's legacy backend. A backdoor code had been placed months ago by a developer no longer with the company, a contractor Bryce had personally hired. Cassandra knew what that meant. Bryce had planned this long before he was forced out. He hadn't just stolen data. He'd left a ticking time bomb inside Keystone's infrastructure, hoping that when it went off the explosion would bury her along with Amtech. She met with Travis Reynolds the next day, this time in a secured conference room at Amtech's legal office. Marcus joined via Zoom. I've seen the logs, Travis admitted. There's a backdoor. You're right. It was hidden behind a subroutine used during legacy migrations. I don't think our current IT staff even knew it existed. You don't think? Marcus snapped. Your company failed to disable a known vulnerability that could tank both Amtech and Cassandra's new company. That's not oversight. That's negligence. Travis nodded, visibly shaken. You have every right to sue. I don't want a lawsuit, Cassandra said flatly. I want justice. I want Bryce neutralized. Whatever he's planning next, it's bigger than just me. And she was right. Because the next morning, a tech news site dropped a bombshell headline. Whistleblower, former Amtech CEO leaked internal data to overseas firm in bid for revenge. The article cited anonymous sources, hinted at Bryce attempting to sell proprietary client data, and, most dangerously, mentioned Cassandra's name. But not in a flattering way. The piece implied that she had manipulated internal systems to gain leverage before resigning. That her rise had been orchestrated through questionable tactics. That she might have been the one pulling strings all along. It was clearly a hit piece. She slammed her laptop shut. Javier called seconds later. That article, it's gaining traction. People are tagging you. Investors are asking if you want to release a statement. Cassandra paced the room. No, not yet. If I speak now, it'll look defensive. We need proof, cold, hard proof that Bryce planted this. Javier said, then you need to see this. He forwarded a decrypted folder. Inside. A surveillance video from a hotel in Singapore, 3 weeks after Bryce was removed as CEO. It showed him in a private lounge with a known executive from Vintair Technologies, a foreign-backed logistics startup with a reputation for shady acquisitions. On the table between them, a USB drive. Bryce handed it over. That's it, Javier said. That's the handoff. They had him. But there was still a problem. They needed more than a video. They needed testimony. Legal documentation. A verified chain of custody to tie Bryce to the data leak beyond shadow of a doubt. Marcus called with an idea. There's one person who might flip. Bryce's old assistant. She quit right after he was removed. I checked. Her name's Tessa and she's been unreachable since. But rumor is she left because she found something, and was threatened. Cassandra made the call. It rang once. Twice. Then finally, Hello? Tessa? This is Cassandra Grant. We've never spoken directly, but I need your help. I think you know what Bryce did, and I think you've been silent out of fear. A long pause. Then Tessa replied, voice trembling. He told me if I talked, I'd never work in tech again. That he had people everywhere. But I still have the files. The originals. I backed them up before I quit. Cassandra's heart skipped. Can we meet? She asked. Tessa hesitated. I'll need a lawyer present. I don't feel safe in the city. I'll bring Marcus, Cassandra said. You pick the place. They agreed to meet in a small town 2 hours outside the city. Quiet. Private. Safe. But Cassandra couldn't shake the feeling she was being watched. She used a burner phone. Took a different car. Drove back roads. When she arrived at the cafe, Tessa was already there. Nervous. Looking over her shoulder. Marcus was right behind her. They sat down. Ordered tea. Tessa slid a small external hard drive across the table. It's all there, she whispered. Every file Bryce copied. Every meeting. Even emails where he admits planting the back door. Cassandra took it with shaking hands. You're doing the right thing, she said. But before Tessa could answer, a black SUV screeched to a halt outside the cafe. Men in dark jackets jumped out, faces hidden behind sunglasses and hats. Tessa gasped. That's them. That's who followed me before. Cassandra stood up instinctively. Marcus blocked the door. But one of the men pulled something from his coat. A silver envelope. He walked inside slowly, placed it on the table and said, You don't want this war. Take the money. And forget what you saw. Then he turned and walked away. Cassandra looked down. Inside the envelope? A cashier's check. For $2 million. And a handwritten note. Stay out of this. Or we take everything. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories that uplift Black voices and expose hidden truths. Cassandra stared at the envelope like it was poison wrapped in silk. $2 million. That was more than hush money, it was a warning shot wrapped in temptation. Tessa sat frozen across from her, trembling. Marcus picked up the check, inspected it, then slid it back inside the envelope with disgust. They're scared, he muttered. This is desperation. Cassandra's voice was calm, steady. They should be. She turned to Tessa. Do you still have backups of the files? Tessa nodded. On 3 separate drives. This one's a copy. I've kept the others in safety deposit boxes. Different banks. I knew something like this might happen. Cassandra breathed a little easier. Good. Because we're not backing down. Marcus made arrangements immediately. Tessa was placed under legal protection and entered into a whistleblower program. Cassandra transferred the hard drive into a secure chain of custody with the Department of Justice's cybercrime unit. But she knew this wasn't over. The men in the SUV had made it clear. This was bigger than just Bryce. Someone, some entity, was bankrolling this. Vintair Technologies was the prime suspect, but Cassandra suspected there were others. Silent partners. Old money investors threatened by what she represented. Disruption, power, and equity in spaces they had long dominated. Back at Grant Strategies HQ, Javier pulled Cassandra into the server room. You need to see this, he said, pointing at a monitor. Remember the backdoor we isolated? We thought we cut it off. But there's a second layer. Hidden in a third-party plugin embedded inside Keystone's vendor integration tool. It's still active, and transmitting data to an offshore IP address. Cassandra's heart dropped. What data? Everything. Client onboarding protocols. Security logs. API endpoints. They're replicating your architecture, Cassandra. In real time. She blinked. They're cloning us? Worse. They're trying to launch a competing platform before you officially scale nationwide. They want to beat you to your own revolution. Cassandra paced the floor. They're going to white label my entire system and call it innovation. Javier nodded. Unless we beat them to it. So they accelerated. Cassandra moved up her platform launch by 3 weeks. Day and night, her team worked through firewalls, automated rollouts, press kits, beta tests. They mobilized every client, affiliate, and investor under NDAs, prepping for a full-scale preemptive strike in the market. But the attacks escalated too. Tessa's apartment was broken into. Files ransacked. Nothing stolen, but drawers pulled open, hard drives smashed. Cassandra's mother, Miss Thelma, received a fake IRS notice claiming Cassandra owed back taxes. Even Javier's personal laptop was remotely accessed from a spoofed U.S. government server. That's when Cassandra realized, this wasn't just corporate warfare. This was digital terrorism. She called in an old friend from college, Zane Thompson, a cyber forensics expert now working with a private security firm contracted by federal agencies. Zane reviewed the metadata from the spyware and confirmed her worst fear. This isn't some rogue employee or angry ex-CEO. This is a structured campaign. State-sponsored hackers don't hit this hard unless someone pays them to. And someone's funding this. Can we trace it? Cassandra asked. Yes, Zane replied. But it means going public. Releasing the proof. Naming names. Cassandra hesitated. I've spent years building this quietly. If I go public now, everything's at stake. Zane looked her in the eye. And if you don't, they'll own everything you built. Cassandra made her choice. 2 days later, she stood in front of a packed auditorium in Atlanta. Cameras flashed. Reporters whispered. She stepped up to the podium wearing a crimson blazer and a Grant Strategies pin. My name is Cassandra Grant. For 5 years, I was denied promotion at a company that saw me as expendable. I took that pain and built something bigger, something better. And now, that same company, its disgraced former CEO, and its secret partners are attempting to steal what I've created. She paused. And today I'm calling them out. Behind her, the screen lit up with evidence. Surveillance footage. Server logs. Offshore wire transfers. A timeline of the coordinated attacks against her, Tessa, and her company. Zane stood silently beside her. So did Marcus, arms crossed. They had proof, and the world was watching. The press erupted. Overnight, #IStandWithCassandra trended globally. Civil rights groups rallied behind her. Tech forums hailed her as the Rosa Parks of corporate disruption. And yet, amid the noise, came silence from Amtech. No press release. No rebuttal. No statement. Until the very next morning. Cassandra was reviewing legal documents when her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered. A deep, confident voice spoke. Miss Grant. This is Eli Boudreau, managing partner at Monarch Equity Group. We're the lead investors in Vintair Technologies. Cassandra went cold. This was it. The puppet master. You've made quite a name for yourself, Boudreau said. But you've also caused quite a mess. I exposed the truth, she said flatly. Yes, he said. And in doing so, you've disrupted a multi-billion-dollar alignment. We can't allow that to continue. So here's what we're offering. He paused. One-time payout. 8 figures. Full acquisition of Grant Strategies. You walk away. We own the IP. Your team gets retained with bonuses. You go start a non-profit or something. Everyone wins. Cassandra didn't even blink. No. Boudreau chuckled. I was hoping you'd say that. Because now we get to do this the hard way. The line went dead. Cassandra knew what was coming. That afternoon, federal investigators confirmed an anonymous complaint had been filed against her company, alleging tax fraud, data tampering, and workplace discrimination. All fake. All planted. The goal was clear. Discredit, distract, destroy. Javier walked into her office. They're trying to kill the launch. She stood. Then we launch now. He blinked. But we're not ready. We'll never be ready, she said. But we're righter than they'll ever be. She sent the order. Equiloop was going live. Globally. But before the button could be pushed, the entire system crashed. Monitors went dark. Phones froze. Files vanished. Servers been breached. Zane yelled from the hall. And on the center screen, a message appeared. Final warning. Walk away, or your legacy dies with you. Cassandra stared at the screen, then said quietly, trace it, lock it, fight back. But deep down she knew. The final battle was here. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories that uplift Black voices and expose hidden truths. Everything had gone dark. The Equiloop platform, Cassandra's pride, her lifeline, her years of blood, sweat, and brilliance, was offline. Not just frozen. Wiped. Monitors around the office blinked with static. Staff shouted from their desks. Javier's voice echoed from the server room. Mainframe's been hit. External signal, deep trace obfuscation. They used a polymorphic virus, custom-built, military-grade. Cassandra didn't panic. She didn't scream. She stood in the middle of the chaos still. Because she understood one thing very clearly: this wasn't just an attack on her company. It was a declaration of war on her existence, her legacy, her defiance. Zane stormed in, sweat on his brow. They used our own sandbox protocol to deliver the payload. Disguised it as a routine update. No known signature. But I'm already working on a restore point. We encrypted the backups separately after the last breach. We can bring it all back, but we need time. How much time? Cassandra asked. 6 hours minimum. But Cassandra, he looked at her solemn. They're gonna try again. And they're watching. They'll know the second we try to recover it. Cassandra nodded. Then let them watch. She stepped into the heart of the operations room, pulled down the projector screen and gathered her team. They want to erase us. But we are not just code. Not just servers. Not just contracts and capital and convenience. We are the idea they can't control. The truth they can't bury. The future they fear. So let's give them a reason to panic. She looked to Javier. Prepare a shadow launch. To where? He asked. She pointed. The blockchain. Javier's eyes widened. That's irreversible. Permanent. Exactly, she said. If they want to destroy us in the dark, we make ourselves visible to the world. While Zane and his team began recovery from the encrypted backup servers, Cassandra quietly uploaded Equiloop's core framework onto a decentralized blockchain network, making it public, untouchable, and impossible to take down. At the same time, Marcus filed a motion with the Department of Justice, attaching evidence from Tessa's files, Bryce's surveillance footage, and digital logs traced by Zane, proving not only sabotage but a coordinated cyberterrorism campaign with offshore financial ties. Monarch Equity Group, Vintair Technologies, Amtech's former executive team, all implicated. By midnight, the headlines erupted. Whistleblower data confirms international plot to undermine black tech-owned startup. Ex-CEO faces federal charges after leaked cyber-attack ties to foreign firm. Cassandra Grant's company hits $100 million valuation after launches on blockchain to avoid corporate sabotage. Bryce Delaney was arrested at a private hangar in San Diego, trying to board a plane to Dubai. Monarch Equity Group's offices were raided by federal agents. And Cassandra? She stood on the balcony of her now fully restored Grant Strategies HQ, watching the sunrise. Javier handed her a tablet. You're live, he said. On screen was a global stream, tech analysts, business leaders, activists, and black founders tuning in from around the world. Cassandra spoke. I was never supposed to succeed. I was supposed to settle. I was supposed to smile, stay grateful, and accept scraps in the name of stability. But I am not your checkbox. I am not your sidekick. I am not your convenient proof of progress. I am what happens when resilience meets access, when talent meets courage, when a black woman refuses to shrink. She paused. They denied me a promotion for 5 years. But now, they answer to me. The crowd erupted. By the end of that quarter, Grant Strategies Incorporated had signed 6 government contracts, been featured on the cover of Forbes' Black Women in Tech, and been invited to consult for Fortune 100 companies on building real equitable tech infrastructures. Miss Thelma, Cassandra's mother, sat front row at her TED Talk, dabbing her eyes as Cassandra shared her journey. An Amtech? Rebranded. Quietly sold. The name forgotten. The people behind it, scattered, silenced, and shamed. But Cassandra Grant? She became more than a CEO. She became a movement. Never wait for someone else to validate your worth. When the door is closed, build your own. Cassandra's journey is a powerful reminder that delayed recognition does not mean diminished value. Black women and those marginalized by systems are often told to wait their turn. But excellence needs no permission. When the system tried to ignore her, silence her, and finally erase her, she used every slight as fuel. She didn't just fight back, she elevated. This story honors the resilience, strategy, and brilliance of those who rise, not through favor but through fire. The end. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories that uplift Black voices and expose hidden truths.